Good morning, good evening, whatever time of day it is for you. Welcome to this thing that I do called Thor's Entertainment. I am Thor, and today I'm doing another Fatal Friday video. Fatal Friday being the series I do where I go into the Kombat League for Mortal Kombat 1, and I try to get the unique finishers such as Fatalities and Brutalities for either the main roster or the cameo fighters. This time around, I'm making use of Li Mei and the cameo Stryker, and I'm trying to get Li Mei's Brutality fast enough for you. Now, fast enough for you is the Brutality version of her armored wake-up attack, which is that flying knee that she does. Overall, a pretty good way to end combos, and even if you just throw out there randomly from time to time, it's pretty quick and catches people off guard.
What does Liu Kang see in Johnny Cage?
He's more than meets the eye, Li Mei.
Take one. Action!
And this time around in the Kombat League, I am going up against somebody using Raiden and the cameo Kano, which is a pairing I have gone up against a pretty large amount of times. It's a pretty popular pairing. And speaking of pairings, the cameo I went with this time around is Stryker for Li Mei. Now that might be noteworthy because, well, I did end up using more than one cameo with Li Mei whenever I was using her in the Kombat League. And depending on the order that I release these videos in, this might be the very first video that features me using Stryker as the cameo. Now initially I went with the Cyrax cameo for Li Mei, and in the case of using Cyrax, it wasn't because there was any sort of competitive advantage or some sort of a tactical reason, a strategy related reason for using him. Because I really don't think that Cyrax is that great of a cameo for Li Mei. Then again, maybe I just was not using him to his maximum potential. No, the only reason I went with Cyrax initially was because I was going for a very specific finisher for Li Mei, and I figured it would be easier if I could hold the person in place for a long period of time, the person being the person I was going against, and then I could set up everything that I needed for the finisher. And Cyrax's net is kind of perfect for that because it holds the opponent in place for a pretty long time. Definitely longer than when the cameo Sub-Zero freezes a person, and also it's a lot longer than whenever Frost freezes somebody. So out of all the cameos that can hold a person in place for a while, I think that one might be the longest. It's either that one or Mavado's Trap. I can't really remember which, I haven't really timed it. But yeah, after I ended up getting that other finisher for Li Mei, well, I really didn't have a use for Cyrax anymore. So I went for a different cameo, and if I am being completely honest, I don't really think that Stryker is that great of a cameo for Li Mei either. I don't necessarily think he's bad, but nothing amazing. Just like with any other character, Stryker just keeps your unsafe stuff safe because of his grenades. And that's about it. But I did need to use some other cameo in order to get their finishers, and Stryker was on the list of cameos I had not used yet or gotten the finishers for yet, so I figured why not. Let's go ahead and pair up Stryker, the police officer from Earthrealm, with Li Mei, the constable of Outworld. Having a law enforcement duo was a kind of a fun idea in my eyes, and now I'm wondering to myself, what would a buddy cop movie look like with Li Mei and Stryker? Now, I know there are a bunch of animated Mortal Kombat movies out around right now, and I definitely know this is not ever going to be one, but just imagine the completely random buddy cop animated movie for Mortal Kombat featuring Li Mei and Stryker. Absolutely no one would watch it, except for me, because it's kind of completely random, and of course I would need to see that thing. It'll be like the Mortal Kombat version of Rush Hour.
Forgive me, Argus.
Brutality! Li Mei wins.
Alright, awesome. After one set, we got the fast enough for you Brutality for Li Mei. All we have to do now is go ahead and try to win the entire set. Let's go ahead and hop into the very next match.
Your resolve in combat impressed.
That's high praise coming from a former Ungari.
Take one. Action!
And yeah, that was a pretty solid finish to the previous match. It came down to us both being below 30% health, and Raiden decided that he was going to go for his Fatal Blow. Which, not a terrible choice because Raiden's Fatal Blow does tend to knock you back a good amount, so it's not the easiest one in the world to punish, but it is still punishable. So I went for the move I needed to do to get the brutality, which also happened to be a fantastic way of punishing that move. Well, punishing the fatal blow anyway. But yeah, I went for that flying knee attack by Li Mei because it covers a lot of distance and is very quick. So it was able to hit Raiden before his animation from that fatal blow came to an end. And it did just enough damage to deplete his health, and then, ta-da, the brutality activated. Pretty good stuff. But yeah, I was ranting about what kind of a buddy cop movie Li Mei and Stryker would be, and I went with Rush Hour, and now that I've thought about it just a little bit more, I feel pretty good about that. Because the whole concept of Rush Hour was Jackie Chan, and oh, and he went for the fatal blow again, which means this round is going to end in the exact same way that the previous match did. I go for the flying knee and it does just enough damage to deplete his health, and I am up 1 round in this second match. It's kind of awesome that I managed to do that twice to this person. Anyway, I was doing my Rush Hour comparison, and yeah, that happened to have Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker teaming up together as police officers from different countries. And in this scenario, we'd have 2 different police officers, well, constable, but police officers from different realms. So yeah, that was actually a better comparison than I realized initially, so let's do it. Let's make Mortal Kombat Rush Hour. Anyway, enough ranting about potential law enforcement related movies for Mortal Kombat. You may have noticed it in the very first match of this set, but I have had to resort to a lot of zoning in this matchup against this person using Raiden. I have been just shooting a bunch of projectiles, and in all fairness, Raiden has been doing the same thing to me. He's either shooting those electricity balls at me, or he's doing that little Superman Superfly thing where he just jumps in the air and does the Superman pose and charges into you. Like, those have been like the go-to moves for this person using Raiden pretty much the entire time. So since they're trying to keep their distance, I'm just going ahead and doing what I can with the projectiles, and also throwing out that lantern from time to time as well. The one that Li Mei throws into the air. I figured that might be a good way of countering him trying to jump in or trying that Superman fly attack. Now when it comes to zoning and projectiles, Li Mei isn't really the greatest, not terrible because that lantern can be kind of useful. But yeah, it's definitely not what this character was intended to do, at least not as far as I can tell. So it's kind of awkward trying to use this character in that fashion. Like, she's definitely not Quan Chi or Katana. And ideally, you'd be getting close to your opponent and managing to do a few different combos, as opposed to just shooting a bunch of projectiles. And as I'm reflecting on that first match, that's really something I don't feel like I got to do a lot of. I didn't really get any major combos. And after that match that Raiden just won, I don't really think I saw any big combos in that either. Now, fortunately, I did look ahead to the future. I checked out this third and final match, and that does change a bit for me, but yeah, early on, there just really wasn't a whole lot. It was just an all-out projectile war the entire time. And if I'm being completely honest, there's still going to be quite a bit of that going forward as well. But I did just manage to pull off a 348 damage combo, so at least we are mixing in some pretty good combos on top of all the projectiles this time around. And just like that, I only need 1 more round to win the entire set. And in the second round, we end up kicking off pretty well. I end up getting around a 280 damage combo, which isn't incredible or anything, but it's still a lot better than most of the combos I have been getting throughout this entire set, which again has been mostly a projectile war. So I'll take it, 280 damage. It's a lot better than just chipping away at your opponent with all those projectiles, which is now what I'm kind of having to resort to. Hopefully not for much longer since my opponent is below 30% health and this thing is almost over. And for the third match in a row, my opponent goes for the fatal blow and I punish it with the flying knee, which they just barely survive. And that is a bit of a bummer because I would have really liked to have gone for that brutality another time. Actually, one moment. And we got the flying knee, and I guess I messed up my button inputs because no brutality this time. Or maybe you can't get the brutality whenever it's the meter burned armored version. Come to think of it, I don't know if I've ever tried it before whenever I actually meter burn it and have that armor, so maybe you just can't do it that way? Well, that's a bummer. We end up getting the move we needed, but not the brutality. So we end up closing out this entire set with just 1 brutality. Not to worry though, I will be sure to show it one final time at the very end of the outro, that way we can all enjoy it one final time before we part ways on this fatal Friday. So yeah, congratulations anyone viewing this video, you survived the projectile war between Raiden and Li Mei, which was a bit of a lengthy affair. Now I know that might be some people's preferred tactic when playing Mortal Kombat, but it's not really mine, and if I'm being honest, Normally seeing people just kind of zoning the entire time is not the most exciting thing to watch. So hopefully you still managed to find some enjoyment in this video. And if you did, feel free to check out some of the other finisher videos I have for Mortal Kombat 1. Those can all be found under the Mortal Kombat 1 online playlist. And I assure you, not every single one of those ends up being a zoning war just like this was. There's a pretty good amount of variety on there at this point. In fact, there's a lot of videos on there at this point, so yeah, check it out. Also, I do have playthroughs of a bunch of the story modes for Mortal Kombat, so if that is your thing, I have those available as well. But yeah, that is going to do it for me this time around. Thank you again for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Take care, and I'll see you next time.
Forgive me, Argus.
Brutality! Li Mei wins.